One. Hi, everybody. Eric Smith, Race Review Online with racereviewonline.net here live, as you can see behind me, at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It's Indy 500 Media Day today, so we've been doing a lot of content here later, so figured we'd jump on and do the preview here this morning. Basically had a whole week of practice last week. I know one day was abbreviated because of rain. We've qualified, practice on Monday. The only thing left is practice tomorrow morning. So it's not really going to sway many of my picks because we've had so much data to go off of already. Carb day is kind of a day you don't want to risk too much and worry about wrecking and ruining your race car for Sunday. So we've got enough here, so we figured let's do a preview show today live from the Speedway for Media Day. I got Greg DePalma, regular host of the Prime Sports Network. I know we do our NASCAR previews on Tuesdays. He's going to be here with me. Greg will be chiming in throughout the show.
Yes, I will.
And we'll lead into... Yes, there he is. We'll lead into some trends. So anytime stop me and any questions you got or anything you questions on, Greg, go ahead and stop me.
Do.
So I'll start off with kind of setting the scene. Alex Palou is on the pole. I'm going to get into some favorite sleepers, maybe some guys to be wary on later. But one of the big storylines this month actually has happened recently with Graham Rahal getting bumped out of the field on Sunday. I know I teased this on Tuesday on the NASCAR show because people may notice, if you look at the starting lineup, he's back in. And people are like, what's going on? Well, Stephen Wilson, who's Justin Wilson's younger brother, people that might know Justin, who's a former IndyCar driver for years, unfortunately, tragically passed away in a wreck at Pocono in 2015. His younger brother, he's been trying so hard to get into this race, has been a few-time participant. And unfortunately, he got punted by Catherine Legge in turn one on Monday's practice. Hit the wall head on, was transported to a local hospital. Unfortunately, he had surgery last night. Luckily successful, but it's the thoracic region in the spine, so I don't have any other updates past the successful surgery. But because of that injury, he's not in the race. Graham Rahal is in, albeit it's not in the car Graham Rahal was qualified in. Graham Rahal will drive Steph Wilson's car in the Indy 500 on Sunday. And the reason being, there's a couple layers here. Ryan Reinbold Racing didn't have a sponsor on Ryan Hunter-Reay's car. Steph Wilson does have a sponsor. Graham Rahal has a slew of sponsors that he can bring with him. Graham has ties with Ryan Reinbold. He raced in 2010 with him at the Iowa Speedway. He's really good friends with the Wilson family. Really good friends with Ryan Hunter-Reay. It was kind of a perfect storm. The only issue was Graham being a Honda driver and this team being a Chevrolet team. Honda happily obliged for the betterment of the race to help Ryan Reinbold. So Graham Rahal is in. The only issue is he'll have to start last. But kind of tie this in 1992, Scott Goodyear qualified, but for his team at the time, and unfortunately, he had a bad qualifying draw. His teammate Mike Groff had a more favorable car, or different car, but they switched him. Well, it didn't work. Scott Goodyear missed the show. Scott Goodyear was a full-time driver, Mike Groff not. They put Goodyear back in the race. He started last. He almost won. That was the Thurling finish with Al Unser Jr. in 1992. So he came from last to finish second in the race he wasn't even supposed to be in. 1987, another similar instance. Al Unser had 3 Indy 500 wins. His career was winding down. He wasn't even on the entry list. So they get to that month of May. He's not on it. Daniel Gaius is in the Penske car. He wrecks, has a concussion. They bring Al Unser back. Problem is they didn't have a car for him. They brought the car from a hotel lobby in Reading, Pennsylvania, and Al Unser wins. And it's his fourth win in Indy 500 1987 that year. So is Graham Rahal going to win? It's weird trends that say that he can contend for this thing. That's a good car. Steph Wilson already called this was one of the best opportunities he's ever had here. So now Rahal's in it. He's starting 33rd. It's a tall task at hand, but I've seen crazier things. So he could be in the running. So with that said, I'll get into some trends here with why it's a little tall task because since 2018 in this race, every winner has come from the top 8 of the starting lineup. The racing package, they said it's a little bit easier to pass. They expect a lot of passing up front. It's still going to be a little more difficult and challenging, kind of mid-pack on back, because one, these drivers are good. They're going to be running in line. It's going to be closer, but how do you make a pass if you're running the same speed? Well, Power told me, though, there's going to be more massive tire fall off, and that can create a little bit of separation. If you have a little bit of a gap to the car in front of you, the guy behind you is going to pass you. So I think it's going to create a better show. Does it ruin the trend of the top 8 starting spots? It's hard to tell. So right now, that's a trend that we'll look at the top 8 of the starting lineup and know those are probably the guys you're going to want to wager on right now, just because it's IndyCar racing. It seems that's been the trend. Plus, we've had 35 straight years where the winner of this race is starting in the top 19. So really focus on those drivers. We could probably go back to 19th. So that's why I say Graham Rahal starting last. It's a tall task at hand. But among those guys, Ganassi, Penske, Andretti. Heard those names before? I feel like we talk about that a lot. They've won 14 of the last 18 Indy 500s and 18 of the last 23 in general. The only thing is Penske does not have a starter in the top 8. Their best starter is Will Power in 12th. Andretti doesn't have a starter at all in the top 12. Ganassi's got all 4. They dominated here last year. They dominated here the year before. They're all starting up front. But we've seen in this race you could dominate and not win. McLaren also has 4 drivers in the top 10 of the starting lineup. So between Ganassi and McLaren, that's 8 of your top 10 starters. The last Chevrolet team not named Team Penske to win this race, Gallus Racing in that same 1992 race that I alluded to earlier. So are they going to be the first team in that long to win other than Team Penske with the Chevrolet camp? That's why I struggle to take the category out of Ganassi. So those are some early trends. We've had a new Indy 500 winner every year since for 7 of the last 9 years. Since 2011, the only guys to repeat is Takuma Sato. That's it. 2017 and 2020. I'll touch on him in a little bit. Everybody else, it's been a new winner. So if you follow the trend, we'll get to the new winner. But that's another trend to watch. Also, 2021 was the first time in 10 years we saw a part-time driver win this race. That was with Elio Castroneves. The last time before that, 2011, that was with Dan Weldon. The last time before that, 2001, with Elio Castroneves, again, when he was a part-time driver that year for IRL because he was running karts. So that trend kind of shows that we're probably not going to have a part-time winner win this year. Another trend to watch. Since 1967, just 3 times has a driver scored their first career win in the Indianapolis 500. There's 13 drivers on this entry list that have never won an IndyCar race before. So with that being said, I struggle to think if it's only happened 3 times since 1967, any of those 13 drivers will win. And also, I could give you the names. Augustin Canapino, Stingray Robb, Benjamin Peterson, Captain Malay, Connor Daly, Kyle Kirkwood, Romain Grosjean, Devlin DeFrancesco, David Malukas, Christian Lundgaard, Jack Harvey, Santino Ferrucci, and Callum Ilott. Those are the guys that have never won an IndyCar race before. So since 1967, it's only happened 3 times. The oldest driver to win this race, Al Unser, is 47 years old in that 1987 race. Kanaan and Castroneves are each 48. Sato's close. He's at 46. Here's another weird one. 11 straight years a different car number has won this race. And I'll run through them. 50, number 11, number 28, number 2, number 98, number 26, number 12, number 22, number 30, number 06, and number 8. 5 of the last 7 years have seen the race winner never win an IndyCar championship before. So if you combine all of that, I'm going to start running into the guys to watch on these tracks then, because you throw all those trends in, here's some drivers to watch. Alex Palou, pole sitter, Ganassi. The pole sitter has been the prominent starting position to win here. However, it's only happened 1 time in the last 13 years. That happened in 2019, and that was with Simon Pagenaud, who also swept the month of May. Alex Palou is trying to do that. He won the GMR Grand Prix here on the road course a couple of weeks ago. He won the pole last week. Can he win the race on Sunday? It seems almost too good to be true. However, Simon Pagenaud just did it in 2019. Alex Palou has kind of got that stream going. You just feel like he's close. In 2021, he's finished a close second to Elio Castroneves. He said he learned a lot that race. Last weekend, he said he won the pole because he was close second to Scott Dixon in the qualifying. He learned a lot, applied that to winning the race. Last year, he was so good. He led 47 laps. He finished 9th, only because he got caught out on a pit sequence when a caution came, and he ran out of gas. He had to pit for emergency service, and as a penalty, sent him to the rear of the field. He got back up to 9th. So given that clean starting spot, clean air up front, I like him. He was plus 650 coming on the show, so I like him. Pato Award. Granted, he's a McLaren. I know I mentioned it's been a while, not since 1992, since a non-Penske driver has won from the Chevrolet camp out here. However, he's won at Texas. He nearly won at Texas in April. And his finishes here went 6th, 4th, second. If you just go 6-4, 4-2, it just seems like he's subtracting 2 each time. He's primed to win on Sunday. If he starts 5th, it's the same spot Marcus Ericsson won from last year. And if you look at the overall whole Pato Award, he's got 3 runner-ups this season alone. He's made 16 career oval starts. And in those starts, he's got 12 top 4 finishes, 11 top 4s in his last 12, 2 wins, 5 runner-ups. I like getting plus 700 for him right now with that. Rinus VeeKay, he is the true Trends champion. And my Trends champion, Marcus Ericsson last year, 25-1. I called it right on the money. I got that post up on my Twitter at Eric_RaceReview right now. VeeKay fits the bill. He starts second. And here's the other factor I didn't touch on earlier because I saved it for him. In 4 of the last 6 years, the driver to win this race finished outside the top 10 the year before. VeeKay finished outside the top 10 the year before. Top 8 starting position. He starts second. He's never won a series championship. He's starting this number 21 is not one in this time frame. So he's the only one in the top 8 of the starting line to fit every bill across all that. And he starts on the front row. So I like his chances at plus 1,000 to be the Trends champion, just like Marcus Ericsson was last year. And finally, my final favorite, Takuma Sato. He technically could fall in that sleepers category at plus 1,200, but I feel like he's just so good here. He's got 3 top 3s in his last 6 Indy 500 starts. He's fast. He's in the top 2 in all but 1 practice day last week. He's won this race in 3-year increments with different teams. 2017 with Andretti, 2020 with Rahal, 2023 with Ganassi. We just talked about how good Ganassi was and how good they've been. So I feel like I like Takuma Sato's chances on Sunday with the Ganassi car. He's starting 8th, so he's right in that wheelhouse. The only thing is he's got that part-time driver, but we've also seen crazier things happen. That's why I'll take the plus 1,200 with him even being a part-time driver with how good he's been. We'll roll into some sleepers. Marcus Ericsson, it's just hard not to pick him when he was 2nd, 4th, 7th, and 5th respectively in practice sessions last year. He qualified row 2. We talked about that. He was 3rd at Texas last year. The Super Sweet, they call him 7th, 1st, and 4th in practice this week. He starts 10th, so he's right in that wheelhouse. He's a Ganassi driver. The only issue I have with him, I feel like he can get it done, is it's been over almost 2 decades since somebody's won this race back-to-back, 2001, 2002 with Helio Castroneves. But you're getting plus 1,200 for a guy that knows how to win here. He's in a Ganassi car, and he's been fast. So I like the number at 1,200. Tony Kanaan, plus 1,800. 5 top 10s, his last 7 Indy tries. He was 3rd last year. He's in a McLaren. I know I talked about that, but he's starting up front. He's starting in the row 3. Here's a weird trend from our friend Chad Smith out here. He pointed out, 1993, the pole winner was the number 10 Ganassi car. This year, 2023, 30 years later, the pole winner, number 10 Ganassi car. The driver that got bumped in 1993, Bobby Rahal. Driver to get bumped this year, Graham Rahal. There are 2 Scots in the field in 1993, 2 Scots in the field this year. 1 female, 1 Japanese driver in 93. 1 female, 1 Japanese driver this year. The driver that won in 1993, Emerson Fittipaldi. He's a Brazilian. Started 9th. 2nd Indy 500 win. Driver starting 9th this year, another Brazilian driver, Tony Kanaan. And he's going for his 2nd Indy 500 win. So if you like that numerology, you can get him for plus 1,800 right now. And 2 more guys I'm looking at longer shots. I know I said the first-time winner trend. Only it's happened 3 times since 1967. Although actually I take that back. Kirkwood won Long Beach, so it doesn't fall into that trend. He's just plus 2,500 Andretti car. He doesn't fall in the trend as far as starting the top 8. He's starting 15th. However, I've talked to him a couple times. He is so happy with his car. He said, I can run in the pack. I can run up front. I can go to the back of the pack. I can still pass. It really doesn't matter. My car is just that good. He was a narrow miss for making that top 12 shootout. So start 15th doesn't necessarily scare me. He's with the car that finished 5th last year. He was 17th in a Foyt car last year, too, himself, as a rookie. Would get plus 2,500 and tell me how good that car is. And knowing that Ericsson was plus 2,500 last year and won, I feel like that numerology works, too. And I also like my good buddy Simon Pagenaud, plus 4,000. He's finished 3rd and 8th his last 2 Indy 500 starts, 3 top 6s his last 5. He won in 2019. I know he doesn't have a great starting spot, but he's charged. He's always charged before. He was in the 20s, I think it's like 26th, 25th starting spot a few years ago and drove all the way up to 3rd. So if they get some strategy on their hands, I like Simon Pagenaud at plus 4,000 right now. So those are some guys I like as sleepers. Any fades, I'm skeptical on Scott Dixon. I know it seems weird. He's plus 800. He starts sixth. However, I feel like if anything is going to go wrong, it seems to go wrong against him. He reminds me of Mario Andretti in terms of this track. He's won 2 of the last 3 pulls here. He led 111 laps of 200 in 2020. He led 95 laps last year. He dominated the early portions of 2021. He didn't win any of them. So what makes you think he's going to magically win this year? I just feel like every year I pick him, he's plus 800. It's a decent number, but he just doesn't win. I feel like you're chasing at that point. And granted, this is going to be the year he's probably going to win. But it just seems like last year he just, like I said, he dominated the race. He was leading coming to his final pit stop. And even with a pit limiter button, he was still speeding on pit road. So I just feel like there's better values out there because it just seems like something always happens to him. Felix Rosenquist, he finished 4th last year. He starts on the front row. Two of his 3 previous Indy 500 finishes were 27th or worse. He used to call oval tracks. Not good for him. He started on the pole the last 2 years at Texas, and neither equated for a really strong showing. So I'd punt him for now. And I was high on the Penske guys coming into this month, but they just look like the same team this year as they did the years prior. With Power starting 12th, Scott McLaughlin qualified 14th. His last 2 Indy 500 finishes, 20th and 29th. Newgarden's got 2 top 5 finishes and 11 tries here. He starts 17th. He's never won this race. So I just feel like they're just missing something still. Newgarden told me this place is just his cruel mistress. He just can't get it figured out. So I would punt on all those guys right now. And obviously any of the rookies in the field, I just don't trust them. And Santino Ferrucci would be the last one. I just struggle. I do think he's got a good chance. However, he was plus 6,000 coming into this month. He's plus 1,200. I just struggle to put money on plus 1,200 for an AJ Foyt car. AJ Foyt Racing hasn't won here since 1999. They haven't won a race since 2013. Ferrucci's never won a race. He starts 4th. I know it's a great starting spot for a guy that's used to charging through the field. It's just hard to put plus 1,200 on a driver like that. So those are some sleepers. Those are some fades. Got your favorites. Any other questions anybody has, don't hesitate to use the comment section. I'll be out here all week. I know, Greg, you probably have some stuff you want to chime into as well.
So, all right. So did you already give your picks?
No, I will give my pick. Yeah. So right now I am so high on Pato Award, so I'm going to stick with Pato, my 3. Like we do in NASCAR show, I'd say Pato. I go Pato, Palou, and I'm going to use Kirkwood since I called him a top long shot. So I'll go Pato Ward first, Alex Palou second, Kyle Kirkwood third is my long shot sleeper.
Now, you mentioned the starting position as far as the top 8. Now, what does that trend again?
So since 2017, I'm sorry, every race winner that has won here is starting in the top 8.
6? Something like that?
Yes. And yeah, in starting position and track position has been key. That's why the drivers have all said you can pass easier, you can pass up front, but it's just kind of hit or miss between who has what from mid-pack on. There's some good guys up front, so I struggle to think unless they screw up and get to the back to flip the track position. So I just like that trend with some guys that are starting up front.
And before that, like what would be considered the farthest back somebody has won, say, in the last 15 years?
I could go 35 years, 19.
Okay, 19th
is the farthest. So
are there any credible
19th.
drivers that are starting after 19th?
Yeah, the Simon Pageant one. I think he could be back there. Elio, he hasn't had a great month, but he's a 4-time winner, and he's starting back there. So you don't want to discredit.
Has Elio ever won from a poor post position?
Yeah, I think he was 15th one year. Not this far back. He hasn't. So that's the only thing. The Graham Rahal thing, he's starting last that I talked about earlier with the numerology there and how it trends and all that kind of stuff. Again, he's starting last. That's never happened before. Nobody's won past 28.
Right.
So I'll pass. But yeah, past that, there's really not many guys back there.
Have you averaged out the number of appearances for drivers to win the 500? Like, because I've noticed that, like, even who was it won on his first try? Rossi. Yeah.
So yes.
Is that really weird, or can that happen? Can you have limited experience at this race and still come out ahead and win the race?
That was I mean, you can, like a Kirkwood and an Andretti car in his second year. I do think, and which coincident enough was Rossi, where he's replaced there. It's difficult. I mean, there's a reason it's only happened like 3 times. I'm looking for. I just tweeted it last night because I went back to 2009 and the ages of the race winners, and all of them but one have been in their 30s. I mean, they're all. I'll find it for you here while I'm talking. They're all basically veterans of the sport.
Who's in the 20s then?
Well, Award.
Oh, okay.
Below,
so they bucked the trend now.
They're in their 20s. Yeah, so here we go. I got it right here. Since 2009, here's the ages: 34, 37, 32, 39, 38, 33, 39, 24. That's Rossi. 40, 37, 35, 43, 46, 31. Average is 36 years old. They're younger, but I just feel like their cars are so good. They're starting up front in that wheelhouse. I feel like they've done it enough to know how to get around here. And that's the other trend, too. Yes, this place rewards those veterans, but these guys all started younger, too. So I feel good about those guys even being in their 30s. But however, you want that veteran up front. That's where the Tony Kanaan numerology comes in. So I also like that as well. But it just seems like the younger guys are performing well this month. When it used to be in months, practice days, qualifying days, the veterans would rise to the top. This year, it seems like the young guys cannot play.
I don't know if you. I didn't have Rosenquist as one of your drivers. Did I miss that?
He was one of your fades. He was one of the fades.
Okay, so he's starting 4th, correct? Third. He was 4th last year.
Yeah.
He led laps in every race except last year, which he finished 4th.
Yep.
So what is it about him that why'd you fade him?
Well, 2 of his previous 3 finishes prior to last year were 27th or worse. He's always said worked strong tracks for him. He started on pole at Texas the last 2 years, and it didn't equate to anything. Yeah, and I feel like with the McLaren camp, Pato, like I talked about, Tony Kanaan, like I talked about, Rossi I didn't talk about because I don't think he's really a favorite. I don't think he's really a sleeper, but I also wouldn't fade him. He's just kind of there at plus 1,000. I feel like all 3 of those guys are his teammates and got better shots because if you look at the road course race here a couple of weeks ago, Pato and Rossi finished on the podium, and Rosenquist was 3rd out of the 3. He was in 5th, but he's still 3 out of 3 with McLaren. So I just feel like the McLaren camp, if they win, I just feel like it'll be one of those other 3 outside of him.
And Will Power, does he basically, looking at his, just over his last, say, 5 years even, it seems like if he doesn't qualify well, he doesn't finish well. Is that pretty much the reason you're staying away from him?
Yeah, and starting 12th, he's had a good car in the draft. He talked about that. But if you look at his finishes lately, it's 14th, 30th, and 15th. 5 of his last 7, he's finished 10th or worse. He struggled at Texas, too. So I just don't like his starting spot with Penske. I feel like he could be if you could find him for like a top 10 play, you get a good number maybe, but an outright winner, he's going to need some help to get there. And I just feel like those guys in front of him, and that's a lot of guys that have to screw up for him to get up there.
Did you mention, as far as one of your sleepers, Ed Carpenter?
I didn't, only because I really – he's not a fade because of his number coming into this show with plus 3,000, so I wouldn't fade him. He's got 3 top 6s his last 5 here. However, he doesn't have a great starting spot. They just kind of seem to be missing a little bit this month. I just don't – he hasn't won when he started up front, and now that he's not starting up front, I just struggle to think he's going to win now. So
I guess the only thing is at least you're getting 40-1 or 30-1, whatever it is you're talking about.
That's why I think you can throw a couple bucks his way, not really out much. That's why I really wouldn't put him as a fade because he's not high enough odds to say I'm going to fade the guy. But I just don't feel like he's been strong enough to land on my sleeper list. But he's not a bad play if you want to throw a couple bucks his way and because of where his number is and still at least win. But I just don't got a good feeling that he's going to necessarily win this race on Sunday.
And then if you did, you mentioned, of course, Castroneves starting 20th. Are there any other drivers that are like really far back, like if you had to take one or two drivers that are like, again, say we're talking about Castroneves, let's see, Herta, even Marco at 24th, guys like in that Pagano 22nd, who would be your pick?
Pagenaud out of them because he knows how to get through the pack here. I just feel like he knows how to win. He's a smart driver. Meyer Shank Racing got both cars in the top 10 last year. I know they haven't had a great season this year, but him and Elliott know how to drive this place. They know how to drive in general. So I feel like they'll be patient enough to be there when they need to be in the end. I trust that he won't find trouble. So I do think he could come through the field. And if you get lucky on a pit cycle and you get a caution but you already pit, and he's in the wheelhouse, I think he can stay up front. So I think he's probably your top pick in that
lastly, and I would guess you have some live betting on the 500. So is there something to look out for by the midway point regarding, something that we could keep an eye on that besides, of course, hey, he's leading, somebody that might be like racing in the top 10 or top 15, that his odds are pretty good. And you need to keep an eye on this guy by the midway point because
honestly, not really, because this race changes with NASCAR, you got stages and you can hit cycles and
so nothing you can look out for.
Here, there's no stages here. Not really. I would say when you get to the halfway, focus on the guys probably in the top 5, 6, 7.
Okay.
There's a reason they're there by that point. But yeah, because NASCAR with the stages, you could always tell, like some guys will pit, like we've talked about in those NASCAR shows, before the stage to get track position, or sometimes the stage works out for them. Without stages here and cautions just kind of just following where they may lie, there's no real rhyme or reason. Because the other thing too is if maybe somebody at halfway, because of the way the pit cycles went, maybe you have 5 guys up front that they just haven't pit yet. So you get that.
And how about lap
too.
leaders?
But if you're
laps important, is it one of the races that it's because I haven't noticed like a lot of domination. You can lead, it looks like 60 laps, 80 laps, but it doesn't look like anybody really dominates here, unless I'm wrong.
Yeah, they do. Something like Dixon has, but it doesn't equate to a win. So just because somebody's running away with it early, that doesn't mean that they're going to necessarily win. Like I said, in 2020, Dixon led 111 laps and he didn't win. He led 95 laps last year and didn't win. You just kind of have to be there because Indy is a place that's really weird. You just kind of feel the vibe here, and they always say Indy picks its winners. And even if you're dominated, if this place didn't pick you, you're not going to win. Something's going to happen. Just like with Dixon, I mean, there's literally a button you push and it slows you to pit road speed, and he still was speeding last year on pit road on his final pit stop. So so you don't have to be dominating. Dan Weldon in 2011 led 1 lap. It was the last one. Marcus Ericsson didn't even really lead this race until Dixon sped last year, and then he inherited the lead. So you just kind of have to be there where you can capitalize if somebody makes a mistake.
So I'll let you wrap it up. I know that by the way, when are you going to, what is your last, preview, analysis of the race article going to be?
Probably Saturday. I'll have a few today, kind of more of a driver specific. Tomorrow I'll have a carb day practice recap, and then I'll have probably like a quick preview, my 5 burning questions, 5 things I'm watching, that kind of stuff. And then I'll probably do one on Saturday, and it'll all be up there. I think there's probably been over 50, 60 articles already I've done once you combine all these together. So they'll be done, and then Sunday will just be a bunch of post-race content.
How are you going to do? What's your on-site responsibilities going to be following the race? You're going to be there at the press conference?
Yes, I will be there. Well, yes, I'll be there. But I also a lot of times go out and interview the drivers on pit road, and because they'll bring like the top 2 finishers. So if I'm there in time for when they bring him up based off pit road, but yeah, I will be there at some point.
That's cool. Well, hopefully we'll who knows? Maybe if all things go well, we'll get an opportunity to talk to you on Sunday. Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
We'll see how that goes.
Either way, racereviewonline.net, check that out for sure, because you're going to have a lot of content to add to the race too. I'll let you close it
Yes,
out.
absolutely. Yep. Yep. Thank you, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll have next week, we'll have the NASCAR preview on Tuesday for the Worldwide Technology Raceway. And I'll be coming to you for an IndyCar video probably around this day or Friday for the IndyCars back at Detroit. It's a street course that moved downtown. So I'll be favorite sleepers, 5 things I'm watching type deal for, it's kind of like an inaugural race since they haven't been there since 1992. So we'll have that next week. Thank you for tuning in. Please subscribe, hit the like button on Prime Sports Network.